Hello and welcome to The Wise Senior, your daily source of wisdom, encouragement, and practical advice for living well. After 65, today we're talking about a powerful topic, the 5 types of people you may need to distance yourself from in order to protect your peace and happiness. If you've ever felt emotionally exhausted by certain relationships, this video will offer clarity and guidance. We share new videos every single day, so be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out. And don't forget to comment below, your voice matters here. Let's begin with the first one, because it may be closer than you think. Have you ever noticed how some people only seem to call you when they need something? Maybe it starts small. Can you pick something up for me at the store? Or I just need a quick favor. At first, it feels natural to say yes. After all, helping others is part of who you are. But slowly, almost without realizing it, the requests become more frequent, the demands more time-consuming, and your energy starts to fade. These individuals are often called emotional manipulators. They don't always show their true nature right away. In fact, they're often charming, persuasive, and appear to be in genuine need. But behind the surface is a pattern, a habit of using guilt, obligation, and emotional pressure to get what they want from you. You may start to hear phrases like, "You used to care more," or "I thought I could count on you," and suddenly, your boundaries feel like betrayal. You're caught between wanting to protect your peace and the fear of being seen as cold or unkind. But here's the truth. Constantly giving in to these manipulative tactics doesn't preserve relationships. It slowly erodes your well-being. It chips away at your emotional energy, drains your physical strength, and leaves you feeling used rather than appreciated. The more you say yes out of guilt, the more you teach others that your needs come second. Over time, it becomes the expectation, not the exception, that you will always be available, always willing, and always saying yes, no matter how it affects you. For many seniors, this becomes an even more sensitive issue. After a lifetime of caring for others, raising children, supporting spouses, helping friends, it's easy to fall into the habit of self-sacrifice. You may think, they need me, or if I don't help, who will? But as we grow older, our time, energy, and emotional reserves become even more precious, and we must learn to protect them, not out of selfishness, but out of wisdom. Imagine this. You're finally settling in for a quiet evening with a book and a cup of tea. The phone rings. It's someone who only ever reaches out when they need something. You sigh, already knowing what's coming. It's not a real conversation. It's another request, another favor. And if you hesitate, the guilt trip begins. You're not the same anymore, or I guess I'll have to figure it out on my own. Sound familiar? This kind of interaction can leave you feeling heavy and conflicted. You want to be kind, but you also need rest. You want to be helpful, but not at the cost of your own peace. That's why setting boundaries is not only important, it's essential. So how do you protect yourself from emotional manipulators? First, recognize the pattern. If someone only reaches out when they want something, rarely asks how you are, and consistently makes you feel guilty for saying no, that's a red flag. Healthy relationships are reciprocal. They're built on mutual care, not convenience. Second, practice saying no without guilt. This might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to being the reliable one. But remember, a boundary isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's saying, I care about you, but I also care about myself. You don't owe anyone an explanation or justification for protecting your peace. Try a gentle but firm response like, I'm sorry I can't help this time, or that doesn't work for me right now. You don't need to apologize for honoring your time and energy. Those who respect you will understand. Those who don't, well, their reaction reveals more about them than about you. Third, check in with yourself. After you interact with this person, how do you feel? Drained, anxious, and overwhelmed, or appreciated, respected, and valued? If you consistently feel worse after these interactions, it's time to reconsider the role that person plays in your life. Relationships should bring warmth, not wear you down. It may also help to confide in a trusted friend or counselor about how you're feeling. Sometimes just saying it out loud helps clarify what needs to change. And remember, distancing yourself from manipulative people doesn't mean you don't love or care for them. It simply means you're choosing to care for yourself first, and there's nothing wrong with that. You've spent decades building a life of care, compassion, and generosity. Now you deserve to experience peace, freedom, and joy without guilt. Protecting your boundaries is an act of self-respect, and you are allowed to choose peace over pressure. So the next time someone makes you feel bad for saying no, pause and ask yourself this: does this relationship make me feel valued or just used? If it's the latter, you already know what needs to change. There comes a point in life, especially after the age of 60, when we realize that peace of mind is not a luxury but a necessity. You've spent decades caring for others, helping family, offering advice, and being a steady presence through life's storms. But what happens when those closest to you, perhaps even your adult children or relatives, continue making careless decisions and expect you to always clean up the mess? These are the irresponsible ones, and they can quietly drain the joy and balance from your golden years. Irresponsible people show up in many forms. They may constantly have financial trouble, emotional drama, or life emergencies that require your immediate attention. At first, you may think they just need a little help to get back on their feet. You give your time, your money, even your emotional energy, because you care. But over time, a pattern becomes clear. They're not interested in changing. They just want someone else, you, to carry the weight of their consequences. You might hear phrases like, "This is the last time, I promise," or "I just need a little help." But then a few months later, they're back in the same situation, asking for more. Each time the guilt tugs at you. If I don't help, what will happen? Or worse, they play on your emotions. I thought you cared about me. It becomes hard to say no without feeling cold or selfish. But here's the truth. Caring for someone does not mean sacrificing your own peace. You can care deeply without carrying their entire burden. In your younger years, maybe you didn't mind doing a little extra. But now, every ounce of energy matters. Every moment of rest is earned. You should not have to spend your days anxious about someone else's poor decisions, especially when they continue repeating the same mistakes without effort to grow or change. Let's be clear, irresponsibility is not just about making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. What defines an irresponsible person is their refusal to take accountability. They rely on others, especially kind-hearted people like you, to bail them out, time and time again. They may refuse to learn, resist advice, and expect help as if it's owed to them. They see your compassion as a resource to tap into, not a gift to appreciate. This is not the kind of emotional load you should be carrying at this stage of life. So what can you do? 1. Set firm financial boundaries. If someone repeatedly asks for money or help, it's time to say, "I'm sorry, I can't support you financially anymore. I hope you understand." You don't owe anyone an explanation beyond that. Your money is meant to support your well-being, your needs, and your security. Offering financial support without accountability only enables irresponsibility. It doesn't fix it. 2. Offer guidance, not rescue. Instead of solving the problem for them, help them think through a solution. What steps can you take to prevent this from happening again? Or what's your plan moving forward? Let them feel the weight of their decisions. If they're truly ready to change, they'll welcome your support in growing, not just surviving. 3. Stop letting guilt make your decisions. Many irresponsible people will use guilt to manipulate your kindness. But guilt is not a reason to give away your peace. You are not a bad parent, sibling, or friend for saying no. In fact, saying no is sometimes the kindest, strongest thing you can do for both of you. It invites them to take ownership of their life, and it frees you from the emotional cycle of worry, resentment, and exhaustion. 4. Protect your emotional space. Don't feel pressured to take every call, respond to every message, or get pulled into every crisis. It's okay to say, "I'm not available right now, but I hope things work out." You are not their emergency response system. You're a person with your own needs, health, and boundaries. Let me share the story of a woman named Ruth, age 71. She had a son in his 40s who constantly got into financial trouble, credit card debt, unpaid bills, risky investments. Each time he called Ruth, desperate and emotional, claiming he'd learned his lesson. She gave him thousands over the years, money she had saved for travel, home repairs, and medical care. Eventually, she realized her health was declining, her savings were low, and her peace of mind was gone. She decided to stop. She told her son, I love you, but I can't keep saving you. You need to figure this out. He was angry, but over time he began making changes. And Ruth, she finally slept peacefully at night, knowing she was no longer tied to someone else's chaos. Remember, letting go of someone's burden doesn't mean letting go of love. It means choosing your peace. You've spent your life helping others. Now it's time to help yourself by surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, not those who weigh you down. You don't have to carry what isn't yours. You've earned the right to live freely, without guilt, pressure, or fear. Protect that peace. It's one of the most valuable things you own. Now that we've addressed the toll of irresponsibility, let's turn to another draining presence, the ungrateful. You give your time, your energy, and your love, often without being asked. You do it because it feels right, because you care deeply, and because showing up for others has always been a part of who you are. But what happens when all that kindness, all those small and large sacrifices, are met not with appreciation, but with silence, or worse, criticism? It's one of the most painful realizations that can emerge in the later years of life, that some people, even those closest to you, may begin to see your generosity not as a gift, but as a duty. You cook a meal with care and love, hoping to bring your family together. And instead of gratitude, you hear, "Why so little?" You rearrange your day to help someone with an errand, and rather than a simple thank you, you're met with, "Well, next time, can you also?" And slowly, it begins to wear on you. These interactions may seem small on the surface, but over time they chip away at your sense of peace. What once brought joy now feels like a chore. What once felt meaningful starts to feel like a burden. You begin to wonder if your efforts are truly valued or simply expected. That question, left unanswered, can create resentment, sadness, and even self-doubt. But here's something vital to remember. Kindness is a gift, not an obligation. When it's not appreciated, it doesn't just lose its joy, it becomes emotionally draining. You may start to feel invisible, like your contributions don't matter. That's a lonely and disheartening place to be, especially when all you've wanted is to care for those you love. Ungrateful people don't just forget to say thank you. They often act as if your help is owed to them. They might downplay your efforts or ignore them entirely. They may even respond with complaints, criticisms, or comparisons. But their behavior is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their character. And the longer you continue giving to people who don't recognize your value, the more you risk forgetting that value yourself. So what can you do to protect your energy and emotional well-being? First, pause and acknowledge your feelings. Feeling hurt or disappointed when your kindness is taken for granted is not weakness. It's a natural human response. You've invested yourself, your time, your energy, and your heart into others, and it's okay to feel disheartened when that investment is ignored or dismissed. Next, reevaluate the relationship. Ask yourself honestly, does this person bring positivity into my life? Do I feel respected and appreciated after spending time with them? If the answer is consistently no, it may be time to set some healthy boundaries. You don't have to cut someone off completely to protect your peace, but you can limit how much of your time and energy you offer. You can shift your focus to people who reciprocate care, who notice your efforts, and who uplift you in return. Surrounding yourself with individuals who show appreciation, even in small ways, can renew your joy in giving. One way to start is by choosing where and how you give. Focus your kindness where it's seen, valued, and returned. Give to the grandchild who lights up when you show up to support them. Offer your time to a neighbor who truly appreciates your help. Volunteer in your community, where your contributions bring visible joy and connection. These are the kinds of experiences that replenish you, not drain you. If someone regularly meets your kindness with entitlement or ingratitude, it's okay to pull back. You might say gently, "I've noticed that I'm doing a lot, and I'm not sure it's being appreciated." You may be surprised by the reaction, or you may confirm what you already suspected. Either way, you're standing up for your emotional health. And perhaps the most important thing to remind yourself is this: their lack of gratitude is not your fault. You did not fail by being kind. Your efforts still matter. The love you give, the time you offer, the support you provide, they are still beautiful, generous acts. But they are best given to those who understand their value. Your later years are meant for peace, fulfillment, and joy, not for proving your worth to people who can't see it. You've earned the right to protect your energy and to invest it wisely. You have every right to say, I deserve to be appreciated. I deserve to be surrounded by those who care. So from this day forward, choose to give your kindness where it's seen. Don't let anyone's lack of gratitude make you question your heart. Because your heart, the way you give, love and support is a gift, but only when it's shared with the right people. Now let's turn to a different kind of emotional drain. The people who always make everything about themselves. Some people only seem to remember you when they need an ear or an audience. You know the type. They call you, not to ask how you're doing or to check in, but to launch straight into a long story about themselves. Every phone call, every conversation revolves around their problems, their achievements, their opinions. And when you try to speak, when you gently share your thoughts, feelings, or simply try to connect, they talk over you, change the subject, or dismiss what you're saying. It's frustrating. And over time, it becomes something more than that. It becomes lonely. This kind of relationship, where one person does all the taking and none of the giving, slowly chips away at your emotional well-being. You might start to wonder, do they actually care about me? Do they even see me as a person or just a sounding board? It's a painful realization, especially if the self-centered person is someone close to you, a longtime friend, a relative, even an adult child. One-sided relationships are not just exhausting, they're invalidating. You begin to feel like your voice doesn't matter, your stories aren't important, and your presence is only useful as long as you stay quiet and supportive. And at this stage of life, you deserve far more than that. Let's be clear, wanting to share your life with others is normal. You've lived decades full of experiences, ups and downs, lessons and wisdom. Sharing that with someone who listens, who cares, and who values your presence is one of life's great joys. But when someone repeatedly shows you that they're not interested in your life, that they only want to talk about theirs, you're not in a real relationship. You're in a performance, and your role is background support. And that's simply not okay. Imagine this. You call a friend to talk about something meaningful to you, maybe a memory that's been on your mind, or something you've been struggling with lately. As you begin to speak, they interrupt with, "Oh, that reminds me of what happened to me last week." And suddenly the conversation is no longer about you. It's about them, again. You try to steer it back gently, but it happens over and over. Eventually you stop trying, you become silent, and the friendship slowly becomes a monologue. Now you might be thinking, well, I've known them for years, or maybe they don't realize they're doing it. That may be true. Many self-centered people don't mean to hurt others. They're just so wrapped up in their own thoughts that they forget to look outside of themselves. But good intentions don't erase bad patterns. If you constantly feel unheard, overlooked, or emotionally dismissed, something has to change. Here's how to protect your peace. 1. Recognize the pattern. The first step is simply acknowledging what's happening. Take note of how you feel after interacting with this person. Do you feel uplifted and connected, or drained and invisible? A healthy relationship, even one that's not perfect, should leave you feeling seen and respected. 2. Test the balance. Try gently steering the conversation towards something you care about. If they cut you off, change the subject, or show no interest, that's a red flag. People who truly value you will make space for your stories, too, not just their own. 3. Speak up, kindly but firmly. If you feel safe doing so, express how you feel. You might say, "I've noticed our conversations tend to focus mostly on your side. I'd love to be able to share more of what's going on with me too." A thoughtful friend will take that seriously. A self-centered one will likely deflect or get defensive, and that tells you what you need to know. 4. Limit your time and energy. You don't have to cut someone off entirely to protect your well-being, but you can reduce how often you engage or how much of yourself you invest. Spend shorter time on the phone. Don't always answer every call. Give yourself permission to pull back. 5. Fill your life with mutual relationships. The best way to replace emotional emptiness is with emotional richness. Seek out people who listen, who ask how you are, and genuinely care about the answer. Join a group, reconnect with someone who always made you feel good, or invest more time in friendships that are already balanced and supportive. And above all, remind yourself that you matter. You're not here to be someone else's mirror, audience, or fan club. Your voice deserves to be heard. Your thoughts, your experiences, and your stories, they hold value. You hold value. It's okay to expect more from your relationships. It's not selfish, it's healthy. The later years of life should be filled with people who honor your presence, not diminish it. You've spent a lifetime supporting others. Now make sure you're surrounded by people who support you too. If one-sided conversations leave you feeling invisible, constant criticism can make you question your worth. Let's talk about the critics. There's a certain kind of person who always seems to find something wrong with what you do. They criticize how you dress, whether it's too simple or not stylish enough. They question your food choices, comment on how you spend your time, and seem to always believe they know better. These individuals often disguise their harsh words under the pretense of just being honest. But let's be clear, honesty without empathy isn't helpful. It's not constructive. It's simply another form of criticism that chips away at your confidence, especially when it's constant and unsolicited. And over time, these words start to stick. You may begin to second-guess yourself, wondering if your choices really are wrong. You might change your outfit before leaving the house, hesitate before speaking your mind, or even start to shrink in your own skin, all because someone else made you feel that your way of living isn't good enough. That slow erosion of self-worth is one of the most damaging effects of long-term criticism. What's even more frustrating is that these critics often claim they're doing you a favor. They might say, "I'm only trying to help," or "someone has to tell you the truth," as if their hurtful words are some sort of gift. But let's be honest, true support doesn't come wrapped in shame. Real help is offered with kindness, not condescension. If someone's feedback consistently leaves you feeling smaller, not stronger, then it's not advice, it's judgment. You may even find yourself replaying their comments in your head, long after the conversation has ended. That lingering self-doubt can follow you throughout the day, affecting your mood, your energy, and even your relationships with others. It's exhausting. And if you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, you've lived long enough to know this truth. Life is too short to carry around the weight of someone else's negative opinions. So, how do you deal with people like this? People who always seem to have something critical to say, no matter how hard you try or how well you live. The first and most powerful step is to recognize that not every opinion deserves your attention. Just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true. And even if it is true, that doesn't mean it needed to be said, at least not in a way that belittles or diminishes you. You have the right to protect your spirit and your peace by choosing which voices you allow into your inner world. Instead of arguing back, which often leads nowhere, you can respond with calm confidence. A simple phrase like, "I'm happy with my life," carries far more power than trying to justify your decisions. It draws a clear boundary without aggression. It tells the other person, "I hear you, but I don't accept your judgment as truth." That kind of statement stops the conversation in its tracks. And more importantly, it reminds you that your happiness and choices are valid. It's also important to evaluate the relationship itself. If someone consistently makes you feel judged, anxious, or insecure, ask yourself, is this a relationship that uplifts me, or one that brings me down? If it's the latter, it may be time to set firmer boundaries, or in some cases to limit your contact altogether. Your emotional well-being matters, and you're allowed to protect it. Surrounding yourself with kind, supportive people makes a world of difference. People who offer advice gently, who lift you up instead of tearing you down, who celebrate your choices rather than critique them. These are the kinds of relationships worth investing in. Being around people who see the best in you helps you see the best in yourself. And don't forget, you have nothing to prove. Not to your neighbor who always has an opinion. Not to a family member who points out your every flaw. Not to a friend who can never seem to celebrate your success without adding a caveat. You've earned the right to live with joy, confidence, and freedom from unnecessary judgment. In the end, criticism is inevitable, but how much power it has over you is something you can control. Choose peace over perfection. Choose clarity over conflict. Choose to stand tall in who you are and how you live. Because your life is yours to live, and no one else's commentary should be loud enough to drown out your own sense of contentment. You've spent a lifetime caring for others. Now is the time to care for yourself. Cutting out toxic people isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect. Spend your energy on relationships that bring you joy, support, and love. not guilt, exhaustion, or stress, because you deserve peace. You deserve to be respected. And most of all, you deserve to be happy. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like. Leave a comment below and subscribe for more content made just for wise, strong, and inspiring seniors like you. Thank you for watching, and take good care of yourself.